Good evening, everyone. We are live. It is, of course, Wednesday Night Live with Richie and the wonderful Rogue. Rogue, where are you?
I'm so far away. No, I have not made it to the studio tonight. I apologise. You're all the way over there by yourself, and I am all the way over here by myself. So it is what it is. But you know,
We'll manage, I'm sure. Well, I was in London this morning, as you know, with Mike Graham, and had to leave there, get back to the studio. So just about got all the stuff together tonight. So the show is a little bit mix and match tonight. Thank you to all the team who put it together. Thank you to all of our members, our subscribers, all the new ones as well. We appreciate you very much. All your support as well. We really, really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on all the social media platforms like X and Facebook and everything else. Well, we've got two guests coming on the show tonight to discuss a lot of things, but normally on a Wednesday, Rogue, we do the PMQs, but we missed it today, didn't we?
We did indeed, which is fine because actually you had your time with Mike Graham. It was a good show, wasn't it?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Yeah, I haven't seen him for quite a while. It's been a while since he's been on the show. In fact, I'm going to show a clip in a few moments because he wanted to know where you were. He was like, where's Rogue? I mean, he wasn't interested in me being on the show. He wanted you on the show. I'm like, here's Mike. You know what I mean? So,
I know. I mean, after all the work you've done with him, and there's me just like bobbing along. Hi.
Yeah, I think he only booked me because he thought you were coming. But anyway, to be honest, a little clip anyway from the Mike Graham show this morning.
So Richie Taylor's here. Richie,
hey, Mike,
good to see you, man.
Yes,
this bloke used to be on my show at least once a week, right? In the old days.
Yeah,
from Welsh, Wales. He's now branched out. You're now sort of international Richie Taylor.
Yes,
and you're looking a bit dapper now with the long hair.
Thank you, Mike.
And the little goatee and all that.
Yeah.
And you've been through various different political incarnations. You're now free of all that, right?
Absolutely.
You're not affiliated with anybody in particular.
Yeah, absolutely.
But anyway, welcome to the new Mike Graham. What do you think of the studio?
Absolutely love it, Mike. It's fantastic.
Isn't it great? It's got a good vibe about it, isn't it?
Yeah, very, very impressed.
At 4 o'clock we close it down, turn it into a nightclub.
I've seen the drinks fridge just in the corner over there.
Have a beer if you want. People come in and I go, do you want a beer? And they're like, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, so? Doesn't matter, I've been here since 5, you know.
By the way, big shout out to Rogue as well. She went on air. Wanted to send her love to you. She couldn't make it. That's my co-host for Richie and Rogue, Unfiltered. Yeah.
Unfiltered.
Weekly podcast. We're on after you on Brunch Show, actually, every Saturday.
Okay, good stuff. And so we were at this do, which we're not supposed to mention, right? So we can't say what it was all about. But we were up in Newmarket on Friday evening, and we sort of reunited, and we were like we must get Richie back on, and hopefully Rogue as well. But anyway, give her our love. So tell us, what's the state of play in Wales? Because we've got 2 months to go till the elections.
Yeah.
Reform look like they're going to storm it. Is there any chance that won't happen?
Absolutely. I think Plaid Cymru are polling higher than them. It depends which polls you look at. You know, the polls are like Mike anyway. You know, it's a minefield. But I think Reform got their wind in their sails. They're the only party that can get Labour and Plaid out of power. Yeah. What we don't want is a Plaid Cymru government propped up by Welsh Labour.
Right.
We've had that for 27 years, and all they've delivered for the people of Wales is the worst education, the worst public services, the worst health services.
20 miles an hour.
I mean, 20 miles an hour. I can run faster with Dr. Martin boots on, you know, than drive 20 miles an hour. It's absolutely absurd. And I think what's happened is into this affray now, there's a number of these fringe small parties on the right, Advance, well, Wales being one of them, which I was the former leader I stepped down from. Right. I advised Ben not to stand in this Senate elections. They've got a new leader there they've appointed, and he's wanting to stand candidates apparently. Stupid decision in my opinion, shouldn't do it. Let Reform have a run at this because they're the only ones that can give us a real fighting chance on our side of the debate, if you like. There we go, Rogue. Well, so, he did miss you. We did say a lot more at the end about you, so you have to watch the rest of the show to catch that interview. If you want to watch it, just go to the Mike Graham Show, folks. You can catch the full interview there with other guests as well. But let's start with that then, shall we? Let's talk. You asked about the state of play in Wales, right? Now, we've been talking about this, Rogue, haven't we? Because we've been heavily involved in the political landscape when we were with Advance because we believed that it was the right thing to build a party up for 2029. And all of a sudden, they kind of moved the goalposts, haven't they?
Do you know what? I'm really hoping that we have definitive change. How many days have we got left?
Whoa, it's just under 2 months now, isn't it? So it's not that long away.
I think less than that. I think it's literally going to be about 40 days. I literally think, right, there is so much that needs to be done. And, you know, we've got people who are trying to come in and take a position that actually, I'm not saying they're not entitled to, please hear me, right? Because everybody's entitled to do what they want to do when it comes to sort of like going forward. But with all due respect, you know, we need to leave it to the big boys now, because the big boys need to be playing, you know, we as people of Wales have suffered. We have suffered massively, you know, at the hands of the government, at the failures, and, you know, with whether it's our education, like you said, whether it's the NHS, which again, doctors, it's just been horrific. So we do not want Plaid to get in. We do not want the Greens to get in. That is so, so important. And we don't want Labour to stay there. So we need to, again, avoid the block voting. And there is only one party, isn't there? There is only one party that we can vote for. And it doesn't mean to say that we want to do it. It doesn't mean to say that, you know, we have to do it. But actually, we kind of do, because we need to make that change. And that change is so important because it's intrinsic and it's going to affect each and every one of us. We don't want to be a nation of sanctuary. We don't want to be everybody is welcome here. We don't want to be that, you know, everything just is more diluted than it is, because, like I said, we're all suffering, you know, at the hands of Labour being, you know, leading here. Oh, it drives me mad. Let's move on.
27 years of Welsh Labour has destroyed Wales in every stretch of the imagination. And of course, you know, whilst, you know, I'm not a member of Reform myself, I'm not a member of any political party, but I would certainly be voting for them in my constituency of Llanelli, because the only way to get Neil Griffiths out, who's been there for years, well, for the Labour Party, is to get him in. And that's the only way to do it, because we've got to keep these idiots out with stupid ideology, teaching trans stuff to our children in schools, to put, you know, sexual perversion at a young age. We don't want that in our education system. You know, and the idea of, as you mentioned already, this nation of sanctuary that the Welsh Labour and Plaid Cymru together you know, have been promoting, it's changed Wales and beyond all recognition. So, you know, in fact, you know what, in talking about Reform, Farage sent us a message, apparently. Check this out.
Watch the best Welsh podcast out there, the Richie and Rogue show.
Thank you, Farage.
I know, right? No, thank you, Blockmore. Like, well, let's bring our guest. It's Richard, a good friend of ours, normally on with Jeff Taylor. Richard, good evening. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm improving. I've been a little ill of late, but I am definitely getting better. How are you doing there?
Very well, my friend. Very well. We've just been talking there a little bit about this. The show's all over the place tonight because we're separate studios and different things like that. But just tell us, Welsh elections, 7th of May, a lot going on, Richard. What's your thoughts? I mean, you know, we've seen a lot of these new parties start. We've seen Restore Britain, which we're going to talk about a bit later, a court case that I was attending and covering for the Richie and Rogue Unfiltered show just this week. But what's your thoughts around the elections coming in May, mate?
I'd just like to echo everything that Rogue just said. Absolutely. And yourself, in terms of there's only one political party right now that I can see as being able to affect any change that is meaningful towards just getting rid of the potential, I should say, of this block vote that's coming up. Okay, we cannot underestimate the danger of this block vote that's coming. We saw it in Gaunton and Denton, right? And this is a big problem. Okay, so basically we've only got Reform. That's it. That's the only option on the table for anybody who is, well, I hate the term right-wing or right-thinking, because I just don't know what it is exactly that Labour and Plaid Cymru are. I mean, what are they actually? Some people say they're left-wing. I don't know if they are left-wing. I don't know what they are. Trying to qualify and quantify them on the political spectrum is a little bit difficult, I'd say. You know, I think of the Labour Party, for instance, you know, the Labour Party of the 1970s and the 1980s. Can I equate that with the Labour Party of today? No, not at all. Can I equate even Plaid Cymru? Plaid Cymru's changed. Plaid Cymru's not the Plaid Cymru it was 20 years ago. I mean, I remember Plaid Cymru, and I had a lot of sympathy for Plaid Cymru once upon a time, I'll have you know. believe it or not. But that was when it was it wasn't the woke, poisoned left-wing party that it became. Saying left-wing, I don't know what they are. I mean, it's very difficult. As I said, everybody's taken this very different positions on the political spectrum. I mean, the Tories, what are they? What are they exactly? Are they right-wing? Are they centrist? To me, they look like Labour did going back and under Tony Blair. That's all they are. So all of a sudden, everything's had to rearrange. It's all been juggled about. What's coming up now in the May elections is going to be of incredible importance. And I don't think we need any distractions. We don't need any other smaller political parties coming in and saying, oh, we're going to field candidates. Because to me, at this point in time, it's nothing more than a vanity project at that point, trying to push political parties, the smaller political parties through. It's not going to work. There's not enough time. You're going to really need to have, I'd say, a good 5-year run at it, to be honest with you, because I did think slightly different, but after Gaunton and Denton, I thought, no, I think it's going to take quite a while to establish a political party. I mean, look how long it took for UKIP to get anywhere. It took quite a while, and I'm hearing, it's like Restore's got these extra, has got, was it 114,000 today, I believe, members. And I go, okay, that's interesting. But I also remember, was it under Jeremy Corbyn, Labour went up to 560,000 members, and yet had the most catastrophic loss that they've ever had. So I wouldn't be paying too much attention to the party membership. What we should be looking at is how they are polling. These are indicators. They're not, obviously, Restore has not been given a fair chance at a position in the polling at the moment. But too many things are taken for granted when it comes to political parties at the moment. Too many assumptions are being made as well about the performance of political parties. What we need to do is solidly get behind Reform, I believe. It's not it's not the party I would choose. Incidentally, if I was to say a party that I would want to have in power at the moment in Wales. No, it's our least worst option for me, okay? There are some positives as well about Reform. Let's not just throw the baby out with the bathwater in this. This happens too much, I think. I'm not here. And the one good thing which I'm liking about you guys is that you're in a mature conversation about politics, okay? Because you can't have these nuanced debates. I'm finding in other places, for instance, I think it's easier to have these conversations in Wales about Welsh politics than it is in England, because England right now, it is so fragmented. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. The right now is very, I know people say that Rupert Lowe is uniting the right. I'm like, okay, yeah, he is uniting a certain section of the right. But I'm not seeing those people come over from the centre of the right wing, which is what would be required to win a general election. And that's a very important thing. There's still time left for Restore to do that, I'm sure. But as of this moment right now, too many assumptions are being made upon the performance of all the political parties if there's an election tomorrow. We don't know if there will be even a rally behind Labour. We don't know. We absolutely don't know what would happen. So that's my basic thoughts on this at the moment.
Do you know what, though? When you're sort of talking about like the different parties and actually what the hell are they now? Like, where are they standing? Because there has been a huge morphing with everybody just crossing over and they're going from there to there to there to there. Everything's just like this mad shuffling of, sorry, what are you? Like, who is who and what is what here? Because, this morphing from Labour, Reform, Conservatives, Reform, whatever, everybody's just like hopping around to the ship that's not actually sort of gone underwater yet. Everybody's looking to save their seat, aren't they? They're looking to save their asses. And, quite frankly, I just think that we have to look at it now. Like you said, Labour is not Labour like it used to be. Conservatives are not Conservatives like they used to be. And we're now having to try and figure out what everybody else is. I mean, Reform isn't what it used to be. It was more right-leaning. It was more kind of directed. And now there's a bit more things happening in the background, like money exchanges. And, we know what's going on. But, it's what do we do? We just have to vote for the best person. Sorry, Richie. We have to vote for the best person to get us out of a mess. And I'm sorry, but I have to say it, but Advance should not be standing, because if you get 10, 15, 20 votes that go to them and then they knock out reform, my gosh, we are then stuck with Plaid, or we're stuck with Labour. You know, I can't, we cannot. It's so important.
Well, we know Welsh Labour will be propping up Plaid Cymru anyway. But looking at the polling, I mean, you know, you're talking about a few seats, and even if Reform get a majority, which is possible on May the 7th, they're still going to be outnumbered because we know Welsh Labour will always support Plaid Cymru, right? So, you know, there may be a few Conservatives that will keep their seats. The Greens are on course to get about 4 seats, according to some of the polling. They've never had a seat in the Senedd, ever, be the first one, and the Lib Dems to get 1 as well. But Vance still pushing for candidates. I got an email today from them asking for people to stand. So, dear farmers, dear members, the Welsh Government has sought the destruction of our farming. Now we're seeking the destruction of their plans and to make new plans so that farming will flourish and be the most productive and vibrant as ever been. This is our moment. It is my hope to have farmers and people from all walks of life standing in every constituency in Wales. On May the 7th, 2026, we have a historic opportunity to shape the future. Prosperity needs champions. Advanced UK needs its fiercest Welsh advocates to step forward. Will you stand as a candidate? Now,
right. Look, how many days have we got left? Right, and you're still pushing for candidates. Like, this is so backwards now. It is actually like, how are they going to go through their processes? How are they going to actually do this all in time and make sure it's vigorous, it's precise, and they're actually going through the protocol that they need to go through? How are you going to do that in this amount of time? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of things. Number one, they don't have a manifesto. They don't have any policies. And number two, Pete Prosser, the leader for Advanced UK here in Wales, said that they've already got all the candidates for every single constituency. But it appears to me that they haven't. So making such bold statements and then begging people to stand when these people are going to lose their deposits of £500, to me is wrong, because they're not going to win. Now, I heard Ben on an interview with Faith Jarvis say we're doing it as more of a promotional thing, to advertise the party's name. I'm sorry, that does not wash with the Welsh people, right? You don't use the Senedd elections to get your name out there as an advert. We're not an advert, all right? We're not a footnote in the United Kingdom. We're a country that deserves better. And we could have had that if we'd built up from the ground to 2029, local elections next year. But unfortunately, people don't listen to common sense, Richard.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is the problem I've seen for a long time. Wales, I do believe there is room eventually, for a new political movement within Wales, and maybe a party, but definitely a political movement or a movement of people, because what we have at the moment is incredibly London-centric influence upon the political landscape of Wales. Thus it has always been. So that's the problem. And I find it very frustrating that you have people coming in and who don't understand Wales, how it works. And not just that, the Welsh people, we're very different to the English. I mean, okay, I'm only 7%. I may have the accent. I'm only 7% according to my DNA Welsh, okay? But there we go. That's enough for me. And it's the most predominant part of my phenotypic expression, I'll have you know as well. But yeah, no, but the Welsh do things differently. They think differently. And that's something that I think has been very much forgotten, is not understood in Westminster. It's a very different... Communities are still important in Wales. Now, granted, if you go to... if you go to Cardiff and, you know, even in Swansea, wherever, you're going to find parts where that's not the case. That's the case with all sort of large... But even within Cardiff and within the major cities within Wales, there is still community spirit that I don't see in England. You don't see the same level of community atmosphere. I grew up in the South Wales Valleys in Merthyr Tydfil, and I can tell you now, there's definitely still community spirit there. And, you know, I look around, I see what's happened to Wales. You know, I wrote an article many years ago called The Ghettoisation of the Welsh, because unfortunately, it has to be said, the Welsh now can't afford to live in large parts of mid-Wales. I'm lucky enough to live part-time, well, most of the time in mid-Wales. And one of the problems, it's like I had Jeff come up here on a few occasions and he said, there's something strange about this area. And I went, what's that? I haven't heard any Welsh accents. And I went, aha, correct. A lot of the people here can't afford to live here. They've been priced out. You know, that's the fact of the matter. So many of the Welsh have been priced out of Mid Wales. And that's wrong. That is something that it has left a psychological scar. I mean, I grew up in Merthyr Tydfil, and as I said, there were parts in a little area outside of Merthyr called Ponstygell. We have the Brecon Mountain Railway. And I remember that, you know, there was just by the side of the Brecon Mountain Railway, there was a place called Abercribben, where we used to go, all the lads, we used to go up there, and nobody would have known where it is. Not even in Merthyr, half the people didn't know about Abercribben. And there was a little pond there, we used to go for a swim. Now, I went back quite recently to my old village for the first time in years. And a lot of new people had moved in. I said, oh, have you been over Abercribben? And loads of them went, where? Where's Abercribben? I thought, it's just over there. It's just over there. That's the kind of knowledge that has been lost, and the relation. Yeah, but that's the kind of thing that's been lost, I think. Or has the potential to be lost even further, I should say, moving forward as Wales changes. And we don't want to, I mean, people talk about trying to preserve England at the moment, and English are fighting for their identity now. And that is a thing. That is a thing. And, you know, we could talk about the ethno-nationalist component of this, and that's another conversation entirely. Probably not the one to go into tonight. But what about the Welsh? The Welsh have been trying to fight for their land, but every time they've done, they have done this. They've been put down and called nationalists. Well, there is a claim to the land of the Welsh people as well. That's not to say that the Welsh are not welcoming, and you know, to a fault, I would say the Welsh are welcoming. I mean, that I think has been weaponized, and that's why you've got this nation of sanctuary whole thing. It's a complicated place, Wales is, the psychology of everything that's going on in the background. That's my point. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm going around the houses a bit there, but
do you know what though?
Wales is, but that's Wales for you.
When you say that the Welsh are complicated, or actually we're lovely people, but England and London centric don't understand us. I actually made a really kind of, well, I thought that I was trying to help the Scots, right? So there were two clans that I thought were all one clan, and I posted to absolutely invite everybody to this event that they were doing. And I'm like, come along, everybody, if you want to do something, you know, important in Scotland, because as a Celt, I'm there going, I totally get it. So unite the clans, right? This is what I posted up. And I actually, we've got a friend who's speaking there. So Jayak is actually speaking there. There is a few other people that are going to speak it. I absolutely believed I was doing the right thing, put it out. And then I got lambasted by other Scots saying, what are you doing? Why are you with that group and not the other clan? And it's like, what? So now I keep my nose out. I absolutely want to support people, but just like the Welsh, when you have people, you know, sort of like trying to get involved, I am protective of Wales. I know what's happening in Wales, right? And I totally get what we need to do, right? The fire in me starts to roar. So I absolutely will stay out of Scotland. And that's how, like, London-centric need to either get to know us or stay out of it and actually appoint leaders and appoint the appropriate people to be actually helping, who know what Wales stands for. That's my two penneth worth.
Yeah. Well, you know, there might be a place for a right-wing nationalist party, Richard. That'd be interesting, wouldn't it? Because we have never had one of those in Wales.
Well, I mean, I've heard about this for a while, you know. I mean, I can't say Propel is right wing, but it's not right wing. Neil McAvoy's party. You've also got Gwad as well. But what I like about both of those parties, incidentally, I have to say, is that they're not positioning them, because that's another thing about Wales, you know, and myself as well politically. People say, oh, I mean, I've been called everything from far right to far left, okay? And that's, you know, that's what comes, I think, with the territory of what we do, really. But I've always been of the mind of what works, what actually works. You know, obviously, I believe that we should have some public infrastructure there. but then I also don't believe exactly in great state interference in people's lives. That's one of the things. I've always been quite libertarian in that aspect. But at the same time, I look at certain aspects of socialism and think, well, obviously that works and is a nice thing. But then I think, oh, actually, am I socialist? No, not at all. It's one of those weird things that happens in the psyche of the Welsh. I don't think the Welsh are particularly, everyone says, oh, we're Labour, we're socialist. I don't think the Welsh are socialist, naturally, fully socialist. I don't think the mindset is that way. I think it's a little more nuanced, and that's the beauty of the Welsh. Maybe these positions on the political spectrum are easily applied to England and the English, but they don't work in Wales. It's like all of a sudden everything has to be turned upside down because the psyche is more community focused. The focus is about the community and the people, not so much about the political stance. That's secondary. In fact, I think the people of Wales are pretty much sick of it all. I know I'm sick of it. Part of me just wants to leave British politics alone and walk away from it completely. I mean, it's part of what I do, unfortunately, that I have to get involved. I have to get my hands dirty slightly occasionally, but I just long for... Here's the thing. Okay, let's talk about the Senedd, right? The Senedd. Now, the Senedd itself, for a long time, I thought it was the best. As a young man, I thought the best thing since sliced bread. And then I saw how it has been used to completely subjugate the Welsh to ideological tyranny from what I will call the woke left. Okay? And I think, no, that doesn't work for me at all. Get rid of it. Gone. Now, I'm starting to think, well, hang on a second. England's not faring so great. I do believe in what I call pitchfork length democratic accountability. And I think that's something that's very important, that the closer the democratic process to the individual, the more the individual has on their actual way of life. And that's it, end of. So I do wonder, is there a way in Wales of having some form of Devo Max with a more right-wing political party? And I think with that in mind, it could be quite interesting. That's something to think on. I don't know. Or would we always be at the mercy of it defaulting back to Plaid Cymru and Labour? That's the danger. So there's so much in this. There's so much in this, guys.
And I feel like going to Woolworths and having a pick a mix of everything. That bit will do nicely, that bit will, and that bit, and then we can have a whole a whole party that we actually like. It's just doing my head in.
I think my saying is this: why have two shit parliaments when you can have one? So the idea of devolution is just more politicians, and as I've always said, it's politicians who got us in the mess in the first place. So why on God's green earth do we think we need more politicians to screw us up even more? I mean, they've extended it now to 96, as we know. In the Senedd today, a bill went through, which is very interesting, actually. And it was legislated for Wales now to become the first country to make politicians accountable. When they lie, they can get the sack in between elections. And
how are they all still there?
Well, that's the first question,
on day one.
Right, yeah. And the second question is this. Shouldn't that have been in place in the first place? Surely, in the northern
that's actually a good point.
Yeah, I mean, surely, like, if you lie, if you mislead, I mean, look, the House of Commons, we know, is called misleading Parliament, right? And then they have the Standards Commission, and they go through the procedure, and it's all done internally and everything else, and there's no independence at all, really, right? So the Welsh government now voted through today. I think it's a great thing, by the way, that if a member of Parliament, a member of the Senedd, or one of their staff members posts anything on their X account, on their social medias that's related to the party that is a direct lie to gain or curry favour with the electorate, they can be sacked and fired. That's not happened. That doesn't apply to Westminster, but that is a law that was passed in the Senedd today. But one would ask the question, why on God's green earth haven't they done that already? Surely if you lie as a politician, you should be out of a bloody job. Keir Starmer would have gone ages ago, wouldn't he?
With all his fact checks on his X account.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah, so that's what went on in
that's it. Here's the thing, though. I think about this, and I think that there's a danger in this new law that it'll make them actually double down on their lies, so that they'll all actually congregate to this kind of law. When you think about it, it makes sense, to be honest with you. But in terms of practical application, will it then mean that everybody, for instance, on the block left will come together and agree upon a lie, and you'll find almost like, what's the word I'm looking for? Just everybody ensuring that a certain narrative is pushed. We saw this around the time of COVID. We saw people banding together, and everyone, you mustn't break the narrative. That's the only issue I can see coming from this. I mean, this should be a given. I mean,
Absolutely.
This shouldn't even be something that has to be even placed into law. It's like, and that goes to show that our democratic accountability hasn't been working. Our politicians, and I don't mean this in the physical sense, I have to add this caveat, but our politicians clearly have had so much power that they don't fear the electorate anymore. They don't fear the potential to be removed from power. They seem to be very, very comfortable in their positions, and strange days have found us.
Yeah, it's because they're protected, isn't it? Shall I read this? Yeah. So on Tuesday, the Senate passed a new bill which will make it illegal for candidates to lie during Senate elections. Like, geez, come on. The law means Welsh ministers will make it a criminal offence for future candidates to knowingly make false or misleading statements. And it also establishes a recall system that will allow the public to remove a politician from office if they break the rules. But listen to this, right? Reform's Laura Ann Jones was the only one who voted against the bill. With 50 MSSs backing it. We can find no record of Miss Jones speaking during the debate, even though she was present. What's going on there?
I seen that on X today, and I was going to drop her a message and ask her why, but I haven't done it yet, Rogue. But interesting, I seen that as well. I'm not sure why, because I'm sure that as a Reform MS, which she defected from the Welsh Conservatives, and she's for the southeast, where I think it's Blaenau Gwent area. She's the MS for that kind of area around there. I don't understand why she didn't vote. I mean, or she voted against it. Doesn't make any sense, because I know the party line would have been, no, we should be in favour of this, because Reform, they talk the talk, and we want to do what's right for the country. So, let's put this into law. But the statement itself is very strong when it says the law means Welsh ministers will make it a criminal offence. That's the key thing here. A criminal offence for future candidates to knowingly make false or misleading statements. But here's the thing. Who's going to decide if they're false statements or if they're misleading? Who decides that? And it'll be the Standards Commission in the Senate, which is corrupt to the core. I know, because when I worked there, we used to have a book called the Standing Orders, right? It's a red book like this. It was the Bible for politicians down in the Senate. And Standing Order, point 12, point 2, and all paragraph told you how you conduct yourself, what you can and cannot do as a member of the Senate. This is going to be put into the new handbook now. But then when someone is then accused of lying or misleading people, who is going to investigate them? Because what they're going to do? They're going to mark their own homework. They're going to investigate themselves. How can it be an investigation if you investigate yourself?
It's the same old. It's the same old. It's like doctors. If a doctor does something wrong, the colleagues all support and rally round, and then they all fight in support of, even though they've done something wrong. So it pisses me off. Again, here we go. It's literally just everybody looks after themselves whilst we suffer.
Yeah,
Simple.
that's the corruption of the GMC, Rogue, isn't it? They all they do is mark their own homework. It's crazy. Right, we're going to move on to the next story here, because we're going to bring our guest on in a second. So earlier this week, there was a court case at the Royal Courts of Justice where Rupert Lowe was there. I'm not going to give you all the information. I did manage to get down there to do some video work for the show, Rogue. So I'm just going to play the video and introduce our guest. Just bear with me 1 second, because I'm working this by myself a minute. 1 second. Here we go. Here it is. So we're here, we made it in London. We're just about 5 minutes from the Royal Courts of Justice. We're here today to report on Rupert Lowe's case because it seems the Parliament's corrupt. They have this thing called parliamentary privilege, which protects MPs, and he wants that change. He wants judicial review, so we're hoping to catch him, Andrew Bridgen as well, and others that will be there today supporting him. We're reporting live from there for the Richie and Rogue show Unfiltered, so we'll catch you in a few minutes. We're just going to get there now. So Monty, great to see you supporting Rupert today. What's going on here in the Royal Court of Justice today then?
Yeah, well, we're currently, expanding on the case that's been put towards Rupert. I literally can go into so little detail. What I'm going to request is that your viewers use their own, have their own idea as to what we're discussing in relationship to Rupert and the Reform Party, etc. But what I would say is this is a case of principle. It's about saying that the Reform Party and the way that Farage and Zia Youssef treated Rupert was outrageous, and they lied. And that is my opinion. We'll leave it down to an official judgment, but in my opinion they lied, and the way that they've slandered Rupert's name in saying in accusations of harassment in the workplace and a number of other things. It's clear, we saw Farage say, what was it, maybe 3-4 weeks ago, that they just had to get rid of him because he wanted mass deportations. It's so blatant what they're attempting to achieve by slandering Rupert like this, and ultimately, this is about fighting for truth and fighting the establishment.
Well, while I've got you here, how's Restore doing? Because of course you guys are looking at registering as a political party now, not too far off from that. The numbers are growing. I mean, it's exponential, isn't it? What's happening with Restore? What's the future for it?
Well, it's unprecedented, and we've not had one big mainstream media headline, which shows how anti-establishment we are. We've outdone the Tories in terms of membership. We're the fastest growing political party that's ever existed. This is the biggest revolution in politics we've ever seen, and yet not one headline. So I would say...
Well, you're on the Richie and Rogue show anyway, Unfiltered. There we go, right?
Alternative journalism, that's what we need.
Absolutely.
But ultimately, the direction of Restore is to win the next general election. And if you actually listen to the public, this whole culture of no one knows Rupert Lowe, one of the main things I do is I go out on the street, like you are now, and I go and speak to people. Way more people know Rupert Lowe than than Reform want to depict, and the culture is we don't want this sort of wishy-washy, flip-floppy culture in politics. We just want straight talking, to the point, no flashy fireworks, and this sort of just overly. I don't want to say overly professional, but this sort of culture of needing to make politics look flashy and fun and cool. It's no, we're here to just get stuff done.
So a lot of the criticism has been around this ethno-nat stuff, right? You've heard all this stuff, right? This racism card has been thrown. I mean, I know Rupert's not racist, and I know you're not racist, but what would you say to those people who say that, those within the party close to Rupert, the language they use is not palatable and it can be seen as racist?
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to give me examples of those that are in the party, because my experience is everybody that I work with within Restore haven't got a racist bone in their body. I myself don't, and we don't hone in on race or discuss race at all. What we do discuss is ancestral continuity and what it is to be English, for example, which Reform will dubbed us as, well, later coming dubbed us as neo-Nazis for talking about. It's no, this is our homeland, this is our country, and to say that to be British is just sort of having a cup of tea, eating fish and chips, being polite and engaging in democracy is not good enough. So I would say, actually look at what Restore's policies are, and you'll recognise that actually we're just saying how it is.
And what about Wales then? We think about Wales then, because it's a different bunch down there, right?
Yeah.
We've got the Senate elections coming up, of course, and there's a number of parties competing. Reform look to be in second place to Plaid Cymru. They're like the Greens anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, the landscape in Wales is completely different. Politics is seen as a London-centric thing, right? And a lot of people in Wales see people coming from London in big suits, coming down to tell us how Welsh people how to live. It's kind of different. Will Restore in the future be looking at places like Wales as part of the whole United Kingdom? Yeah.
I mean, I can't comment at this point in time. It's also important to know I've only been in Restore for 3 weeks, so I'm doing my best to sort of keep up to date with everything. But of course, long term, our priority is to engage with the Welsh people, right? And this is really important. It's about the candidates in local communities that actually understand what it is to be Welsh, what it is to be in, for example, my family live in Snowdonia, in the National Park, in Welsh mining communities, grew up in England from London, and totally respect and integrate, you can even say, with the local Welsh community, and want to vote in a direction which supports and reflects what it is the people of that local constituency want. So Restore's principle is really simple. Our direction of travel for Wales, but for everywhere else, is to engage with the people that are actually living there rather than dictating to them. It's the inverse.
Yeah, well, we're just waiting for this fire truck to go past there. One last question. Advance UK.
Yeah.
Ben Habib. All this talk of the merger, all this kind of stuff. As you may have known, I was formerly the leader for the Welsh for Wales for Advance UK. Stepped down for reasons that are already out there in the main on our channel, by the way. But what's the whole argument gone on there? Where does, I mean, because I've seen stuff online. Ben has said a lot of things that I don't think have been very helpful to his cause and to his party. I've advised them not to stand in Wales, but they've ignored that. They've appointed, so that's up to them. That's democracy for you. But what's the? Because a lot of people are saying, why didn't they merge? Why didn't they join? I've got my own opinion. I got my answers to it. But I want to hear from you. So what happened there?
Yeah, again, this is kind of above my pay grade as to the level of which detail I could go into. But I think that it's quite clear that I think that something that's really important in this situation is an element of privacy and conversations happening, behind closed doors, and making sure that we don't damage the trust within right-wing politics. Of course, no one really trusts politicians these days, and Rupert came along and said, look, we're going to start Restore as a political party, which has established some trust. And I think the overall aim is to make sure that we don't leave Restore and everything we're building vulnerable to fracture and divide. And the position that Rupert took was really simple. It's like, we do need a political force, invited Ben in, and the discussions that happen elsewhere I'm not privy to, and I don't wish to comment on. But again, you've got your own views. I think I've seen a few of your posts. And I would say that Ben as an individual and a lot of his politics and his policies, I think is actually a very good man. And I think that he says some great things, and he uses the term which a lot of us use, which is principled politics, which is exactly what we need. But it's about identifying what is the best shot we've got of taking on reform, and I'll leave that to democracy, right? And I would say Restore Britain. Yeah, Rich, one final thing to the camera. Where can people find your channel? Because you've got your own podcast as well, haven't you? Yeah, I do all my own stuff as well outside of Restore. So you can find me, my name, Montgomery Toms, X, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. That's great. Just not TikTok, they banned me off there. Cheers, right, Monty. Cheers, mate. Thank you.
That was an interview. I did manage to catch Rupert. He, after the lunch break, he came out with Andrew Ebden and he shot off, and I couldn't stay till 5 because I had to get back because my son was with me. He was my cameraman for the day, and he suffers with anxiety, and London is one of the worst places ever if you suffer with anxiety, right? He's like, Dad, I got to get out there. You got to get out there. So unfortunately, didn't manage to get an interview with him, but there's plenty out there. But obviously, we were talking about Restore there, guys, and a little bit about Advance, etc. But he was there to support Rupert Lowe's case in court, which was the second preliminary hearing on a case against the government, against Sir Lindsay Hoy, I believe. So I'm going to bring our guest in, first time on the Richie and Rogue show. So let's welcome Callum. Callum, welcome. You have to unmute your mic. Hi, mate. How you doing?
I'm all right. Have you got an echo there from my audio, or is it all right?
It sounds fine. Okay. It's fine. Callum, tell our viewers a little bit about yourself. It's first time on the show, your background, and tell us why you were at the Royal Courts of Justice this week supporting Rupert, and tell us what is going on so that the lay person can understand what he is actually taking the government to court for.
Right. That's three questions in one go. So.
Right, I'll deal with the first one first. Who am I? I was a reporter at ITV on the local news in Birmingham for a long time, and they taught me how to report as a mainstream television reporter, basically. So I know all the tricks. COVID happens. We can talk about that another time. Maybe it's a big subject, but let's just say I wasn't content with the way that the mainstream media handled that particular subject. So I left, and I set up Hunt and Gather TV, which is basically was set up because I had a story about some corrupt judges that ITV didn't want to run. And I set up Hunt and Gather TV as a means of basically publishing that story, which I've done. And now I basically try to scrape out a living filming stuff for other people, editing stuff for other people, and pushing this story about corrupt judges. The reason I was there yesterday is just because I've been following Rupert Lowe. I think he's the only chance that Britain has for surviving in the state that people like. I don't think anyone else who's looking to be Prime Minister in 2029 has the interests of Britain as a nation at the forefront of their minds. I'm not a member of Restore, but I'd say I am aligned with what they're doing. And this case, from a constitutional sort of legal point of view, is really, really interesting. Richie, you've been talking about this. You keep using the phrase "marking their own homework," which is a good phrase, and that really encapsulates this idea of parliamentary privilege, this legal principle that Parliament should be left alone to, as you call it, Richie, mark its own homework. And that when people in Parliament misbehave, when they sexually harass their colleagues, when they bully their colleagues, when they fiddle their expenses, they should be left alone to sort it out themselves. That's parliamentary privilege, what Richie refers to as marking their own homework. Now, what's going on with Rupert Lowe is I'll try and summarize that as briefly as possible. When he all that stuff with Reform, when he left Reform, there were these accusations of bullying, but by this sort of shadowy individual who's known throughout these proceedings as Mick. There's an anonymity order protecting the identity of this individual, but there was a complaint to the Independent Complaints and Grievance Service, which is the body within Parliament that polices the behaviour of MPs. Right now, it was set up in 2018 in the wake of what everybody called the Pestminster scandal. I don't know if you remember this, but there was this big outcry about how MPs were groping, various members of staff, and there was all sorts of scandal about it. And they decided in the wake of that they needed to set up a body to police the behaviour of MPs, and that's what the ICGS was. Right. So fast forward to now, there was a complaint to the ICGS about Rupert Lowe involving this person who's anonymous, who's known as Mick. Now, when you look at Rupert Lowe's skeleton argument for this judicial review, you can see that he believes that what happened is as follows. Right. Nigel Farage and Mick worked together to put a complaint in to smear his reputation. That's what he believes. And he said, no, I'm not having that. Right. Now, if you're not having something that a public body has done, you have recourse to a legal mechanism called judicial review. It's when you can basically say to a judge, the way this public body's handled that is illegal, I believe. I want you, Mr. Judge, to look at it and check whether it was done in accordance with the law. Now, Rupert Lowe can do that because he's got the money to do it. You have to pay for it. You have to pay a lawyer to prepare the case, to submit a judicial review, to go through that process. And what he's trying to prove, Rupert Lowe, is that this whole complaint against him was in bad faith and was driven by Nigel Farage for political reasons, and that him and this shadowy Mick person are working together. He wants to prove that by judicial review. What's happened is the Speaker, who is the defendant in that judicial review, because he's responsible for the workings of the ICGS, has said, no. We're covered by parliamentary privilege, right? This marking your own homework that Richie was talking about, parliamentary privilege. You can't judicially review us, Rupert Lowe. We're over here, and the law is over there where judicial review operates. We mark our own homework, to use Richie's phrase. And that's what the case yesterday was about. The Speaker's saying, no, I've got parliamentary privilege. The ICGS has parliamentary privilege. Rupert Lowe is saying, no, it doesn't, right? And his case is largely based on the case of David Chaser. Now, the viewers might remember he was an MP about 2010, I think it was. He was fiddling his expenses, and he was looking at a jail stretch, and he tried to defend himself by saying, no, I've got parliamentary privilege. The submission of my expenses and the paying of my expenses is covered by parliamentary privilege. You, the courts, the criminal justice system, can't look at that. You can't send me to jail. And it went all the way up to the Supreme Court. And 9 judges said to David Chater, you're trying it on, right? You're not covered by parliamentary privilege, because that only covers, I think the phrase they came up with was administrative and deliberative functions, the core business of Parliament, they called it. When they're making laws in the chamber, they're covered by privilege. So no one can sue them for libel, for example, if they get the chamber and say something. What the Supreme Court decided in the Chater case was that administrative functions, like the paying of expenses, weren't covered by parliamentary privilege. And David Chater went to jail, and he did, I think, 4.5 months in prison, because parliamentary privilege didn't work as a defence. Now, Lindsay Hoyle's now trying to run the same defence. Parliamentary privilege. What Rupert Lowe is saying is that the bullying allegations, the investigation of bullying, is an administrative function, just like David Chater's expenses, and therefore the Speaker can't hide behind parliamentary privilege, and then there can be a judicial review. But that's what this judge needs to decide now. Is it covered by parliamentary privilege, or is it not? That's what yesterday's hearing was about, basically. If the judge decides it's not, then the judicial review can go on, and that's when Rupert Lowe hopes to prove this collusion between this Mick person and Nigel Farage.
Yeah, I think that parliamentary privilege, it refers to what happens on the parliamentary estate, isn't it? So it's kind of like Parliament. It's like the Vatican, it has its own rules and regulations and its own laws, and it governs itself, and it ignores all other laws. Well, actually, I think it's in the public interest to know what politicians are getting up to know if they're doing wrong, because they're elected officials to serve the people who voted for them. So the whole idea of parliamentary privilege, this is my humble opinion, should be challenged. I think that needs reform. There should be a referendum around this for it to change, because I think it's something that covers MPs. When they're corrupt, they get away with stuff, and this shouldn't happen.
Well, I think this is one of the things they were talking about in court, because there does need to be, people would say, a balance, right? You can't have a situation where every time someone gets up in the House of Commons and tells a story about, a crook in their constituency and a law that needs changing as a result, that crook can sue them for libel. They couldn't do their jobs, right? So there is a reason why, a good reason why parliamentary privilege exists. You could get all sorts of mischief where, well, I'm going to sue you for this and that you say, and so that no one would sign up to be an MP, right? There does need to be a degree of safety where they can speak their minds in that house and not worry about getting done for libel violations, right? But what we're talking about here is an abuse of that by civil servants, right? The politically motivated civil servants, Rupert Lowe is saying, are using this concept to sort of hide their bullying you see, Rupert Lowe's basic thesis is that the machinery of Parliament has been used to suppress people who are on the right, and I agree with what Richard said. These labels have sort of become pretty meaningless now, but you know what I mean when I say on the right. His thesis is that the staff in the ICGS are politically motivated to suppress people on the right of British politics, and are doing so. Now, I put a freedom of information request in to Parliament to say, can you give me the data about the people you've investigated since you were set up in 2018 by political affiliation, because that data would prove or disprove Rupert Lowe's thesis. And they wouldn't give it to me. They said, no, it takes too long for us to find it, and we haven't really got it. And all this flannel that they use to go around freedom of information requests, they wouldn't give it to me. And that would indicate to me that Rupert Lowe's may be right and that it's being used as a sort of political tool. Because civil servants are generally all socialists, aren't they? Obviously, because like, why wouldn't they be? They're working for the state. They're getting paid out of the tax take. That's a socialist, isn't it? All civil servants are socialists. They can't not be. They can't not be, can they? Like they're taking a paycheck from the state. So, and what Rupert Lowe is saying is that because they're socialists, they're manipulating right-wing MPs who are ending up more worried about their jobs and getting ICGS'd and bullied out of their roles, out of their jobs. And so they sort of moderate their behaviour, that they're, and that's what's going on in this case. That's why it's very important.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to say something, and I thought, no.
Because I always talk too much, you tell me, so I'm just waiting for you to come in now. I always say too much, then I got plenty to say, as you know, you can't shut me up.
I know, but surely if you do a Freedom of Information Act, they have to answer. I know they've answered by saying that they can't do it, but surely there is that duty that they have to answer.
Well, there's all sorts of exemptions that they can sort of, they can say things like, you know, it would take too long to answer all this. And so maybe you could break your request down into bit, you know, there's all sorts of loopholes they can kind of hide behind to avoid answering them. But I think the important point is, if the data that I'm asking for would make Rupert Lowe look like a fool in this case, they'd give it to me, wouldn't they?
Absolutely.
Strategically, it would make sense for them to give it to me. So I think you can infer that their reluctance to release it means it might prove that he's right, and that they are bullying mainly right-wing MPs. I mean, I also hate that phrase. I don't know what it means anymore.
Well, speaking of right-wing MPs, we didn't get to cover PMQs today. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but Tommy Robertson's name was mentioned by Keir Starmer today.
No way. Wow.
Did he actually say it?
Yeah, I'm going to play the clip. It's a 9-minute one, so bear with us, guys. Right, so just watch this. It's only exchange between him and Kemi Badenoch. He never answers the question. He goes on about other things, but he also talks about what happened in London with Sadiq Khan at Trafalgar Square when Muslims were out on the streets praying, and everything else, with this new kind of legislation that Labour are pushing through. I think it's called the Iftar. But I'm just going to play the PMQ section here, and we're going to comment on that. So stay with us, folks. We'll be right back. Just watch this.
Colleagues and others, in addition to my duties in this House, I shall have further such meetings later today.
Leader of the Opposition, Kemi Badenoch.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister tried to avoid scrutiny on the Mandelson files by releasing the documents immediately after Prime Minister's questions last week. So let me ask him now. Did the Prime Minister personally speak to Peter Mandelson about his relationship with the convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein before appointing him as our ambassador to Washington?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, let me start where I must. This was my mistake in making the appointment, and I've apologised to the victims of Epstein. I do so again. The government is complying with the humble address in full, but we are also continuing to support the police in their investigation. The matter of process was looked at by the independent advisor on ministerial standards. It's clear the appointment process wasn't strong enough, and that's why I've already strengthened it. But it was my mistake, Mr. Speaker, and I've apologised for it. She should follow suit and apologise for a gross error of judgment in calling for the UK to join the war in Iran without thinking through the consequences.
Mr. Speaker, I know he doesn't want to talk about the documents he tried to bury last week. He's going to try and talk about anything else, but he's not going to get away with it. I asked him a question he did not answer. We know the Prime Minister was warned about the risk of appointing Peter Mandelson. This is not about the process. He knew that Mandelson stayed in Epstein's house after Epstein had been convicted for child prostitution. He knew that, so I will ask him again. Did he speak to Peter Mandelson about this before the appointment, yes or no?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I've already made clear that he was asked questions and gave untruthful replies. The government is complying with the humble address. The process has been set out. The independent advisor has looked at it. And he said, quote, the relevant process for a political appointee was followed. Now, obviously, this is a question of my judgment, but what about her judgment? She wanted to rush into a war with Iran without thinking it through. At the weekend, Mr. Speaker, three weeks in, she said, oh, there isn't a clear plan behind the US strikes in Iran. That's the question she should have asked at the start. The decision to commit the UK to a war is the biggest decision a Prime Minister can take, and she got it completely wrong.
I didn't hear an answer, Mr. Speaker, and he's right, it is about his judgment. He has repeatedly told us that Peter Mandelson lied to him, but he won't tell us if he actually picked up the phone and spoke to Mandelson before appointing him. This doesn't make any sense. The Prime Minister told us on the record, and I quote, I believed the lies he told me. If the Prime Minister didn't speak to him, how can he say he lied to him?
Prime Minister. Speaker, the process is clear. It's been looked at by the independent adviser. And she asked me about the process and judgment on appointments. She appointed the Shadow Justice Secretary. He said last night that Muslims praying in public, including the Mayor of London, practising his faith, are not welcome. He described it as an act of domination, straight from the Islamist playbook. If we're in my team, he'd be gone. It's utterly appalling. She should denounce his comments and she should sack him.
He wants to talk about Justice Secretaries. His Justice Secretary is abolishing jury trials. My Shadow Justice Secretary is defending British values. I know who I would rather have sitting on the front bench next to me, and it's not him.
Prime Minister.
But Mr. Speaker, this is important. He does want to talk about anything else except what I'm asking him. 3 times I have asked him if the Prime Minister spoke to Peter Mandelson. 3 times he has refused to answer. We can only assume he did not speak to Peter Mandelson. From the documents published, we know he left the questioning of Mandelson's relationship with a convicted paedophile to 2 of Mandelson's closest friends, one of whom was also friends with a convicted paedophile. Asking those questions should have been his job. Why did he fail to do his duty?
Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, so her position is that the Shadow Justice Secretary is defending British values when he says Muslims praying together in Trafalgar Square are not welcome. Mr. Speaker, even Tommy Robinson, I can hardly believe I'm saying this, has said today that if the Shadow Justice Secretary had made these hateful comments 2 years ago, the Conservative Party would have kicked him out. Now, Tommy Robinson isn't some sort of moral signpost. He was pointing out how much their party has changed. They're more inclined to his views, and he's right about that. The fact that he's sitting on her front bench shows she's too weak and has got absolutely no judgment.
The Prime Minister wants to talk about my leadership. I'm shocked because his former deputy has just fired the starting gun on the race to replace him. And I'll tell him one thing. She and I both agree that this weak man should be replaced by a strong woman. But I'm not finished, Mr. Speaker. I have too much to say to him. There is still a lot to ask. There is still a lot to ask about the Mandelson files. There's still a lot to ask. The Prime Minister knew that Mandelson had kept up a relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. The documents released also show he'd been warned about appointing Mandelson. He claims he was lied to. Mandelson had twice been fired for dishonesty. So why did the Prime Minister believe Peter Mandelson over the vetting documents?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, she asked about leadership. When I see religious events in Trafalgar Square, when I see Hindus celebrating Diwali, when I see Jews celebrating Hanukkah live, when I see Christians performing the Passion of Christ, or Muslims praying, that shows the great strength of our diverse city and country. I've never heard her party call out anything other than the Muslim events. It's only when Muslims are praying. The only conclusion is the Tory party has got a problem with Muslims.
Can I just say, people say, I am not responsible for the answers. I've just got to say that.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a shame he's not responsible for the answers either. The Prime Minister wants us to believe that he is a serious leader, but he doesn't do the work. He outsources the decisions, and when things go wrong, he blames the vetting, he blames the Chief of Staff, he blames the Cabinet Secretary, he blames anyone but himself. This Prime Minister appointed Peter Mandelson but didn't bother to ask the questions. If he cannot be straight with the House on something as simple as this, why should we believe a word he says about anything?
She talks about doesn't do it. 3 weeks ago, she said we should rush into war. She didn't do the work. She didn't think through the consequences. Committing our military to a war without thinking through the consequences is the gravest mistake a leader of the opposition can ever. And she comes back a week later and says, oops, I got that one wrong. She's utterly irrelevant and she's got no judgment. This is the leader of the opposition who said I should have empty-chaired the most important NATO summit in years. This is the leader of the opposition who said Greenland is a second-order issue. And this is the leader of the opposition who jumped into a war with Iran without stopping to think. On top of that this week, the failure to condemn and sack...
Order. And I will repeat again, I'm not responsible for the answers, but it's certainly not opposition questions.
Mr. Speaker, add to that the failure to condemn and sack the Shadow Justice Secretary for the poison and division that he spreads. It's turning out to be quite a month for the leader of the opposition who claims she never makes any mistakes.
Wow.
Well, there we go, folks. That's the circus this week. Obviously, a lot went on there today. There's a lot on there. I mean, the thing was, she was asking him questions about the Epstein files relationship with Peter Mandelson, and all he kept talking about was the fact that there was controversy around this Islamic prayer initiative that took place with Sadiq Khan in Trafalgar Square. I mean, I walked past it actually with my son. It had just finished. There was loads of police presence there at the time. I missed the whole thing, so we were in the courts and stuff. But he never answers the questions, does he? Ever?
No, never, ever does. And all he does, even if he tries to partly answer a question, he then rebuts it straight back to her and totally deflects back to her. And it's just like, you and Sadiq Khan are literally one of the same kind. They just do the same thing over and over. And I just find them intolerable, to be honest.
Richard, what do you make of that exchange?
Is it? I mean, I gotta say, eventually after the next general election, I am going to miss Kemi Badenoch. I just love the way that she operates sometimes. She is so, I mean, I can't think of a better leader of an opposition to absolutely skewer. I mean, it's the dynamic between Keir Starmer and Kemi Badenoch is fantastic. It's like, there you've got Starmer, every time that he stands up in front of the podium, he's like the prey, and Kemi Badenoch's like playing with her food. That's what it's like. You know, it's absolute poetry to watch sometimes. But other than that, not Kemi's greatest fan. Other than that, but she is a very good political operator. You have to admit. No, as you said, Rogue, he constantly is in a mode of self-preservation, and his modus operandi is continuous deflection all the time. I mean, I'm surprised he didn't talk about it. He didn't say, but Kemi Badenoch, though, did she watch EastEnders last night? Did she watch it? I don't think she did. No, because if she'd have watched EastEnders, she would have known that actually, and now this, I think this might relate to something else that I haven't quite thought of at the moment. But if I keep talking, then eventually I will come up with something that will be relevant to what she just said. You know, that's that's
how 10 out of 10 for Keir Starmer's impersonation. Brilliant.
Thank you. That's the way he operates. It's basically word salad. He word salads it. I mean, there is obviously some relevance. I mean, he mentions the Iran war, so he obviously chooses various topics of the day that he will try to try and find some moral. He's always trying to elevate his moral high ground. That's what he's doing. And he's not actually achieving that anyway, because what's happening with the Iran war at the moment is very subjective, and that includes that goes right across the House of Commons. So yeah, there we go. That's my initial thoughts on that.
Yeah, Callum, your thoughts?
I always think when I see Prime Minister's questions, what kind of way is this to run a fucking country, man? You know, do you know what I mean? It is so childish. It is so absurd. Like all the shouting and the jeering, and I think particularly young people, if you're trying to engage them with politics and how the country is run, if they see that, like my kids would just see that and be like, that's ridiculous. You know, it's just ridiculous. And people are always saying, I don't know if you've seen that interview that Dominic Cummings did, where he was talking about meetings between ministers, and, you know, they'd go in and they'd have a script and they'd all just read from their scripts and then they'd go out again. Like the whole thing, it's just so performative.
Yeah.
And I think Kemi Badenoch is I think she's a good person. Like I get a warm vibe from her. I think she's doing her best, and I think she really does mean well. But she's a character in a pantomime, and that's what I always get, that feeling when I watch PMQs so massively about. Like, I'm watching like, oh no, they didn't. Oh yes, they did.
He's behind you.
Hello, boys and girls. Here's Mr. Punch. Here's Judy. Here's a crocodile. Like and when I watch, like I feel that way about Westminster anyway, all the time. But when I see PMQs, it sort of overwhelms me. So these people obviously aren't running the country. Someone else is running the country somewhere else.
Yep.
While this lot, like, you know, when you were a kid in the 80s, you went to a party, sometimes there was a Punch and Judy show in the corner and the children would all watch it while the adults got pissed over there. Did you ever have that? And like, that's what Westminster is to me. It's like, look at this, guys, and all the grown-ups are over there doing some really sketchy shit. And that just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter at all in the scheme of things. You know, that's how I feel when I watch it.
Yeah, that's a great description.
Yeah.
Well, Farage made because he's been up in the gallery most of the time. He refuses to sit there because he doesn't get a chance to speak. But he got a chance to speak today, and he was pushing on the old kind of net zero thing. So here's a brief moment of Farage when he spoke today in the House of Commons.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Over the course of the last year, our North Sea neighbours, Norway, have opened 49 drill sites for gas and oil. On our side of the North Sea, the number is 0. Given that our critical reserve of natural gas is down to 2 days and how vulnerable we are, and with talk potentially of energy rationing coming later this year, isn't it time we change course, got rid of excessive taxation on the exploration companies, opened up the licences, became self-sufficient in natural gas, and with that would come thousands of jobs, increased tax revenues and cheaper gas prices. Isn't it time we followed Norway?
Mr. Speaker, oil and gas will be part of the mix of our energy for many, many years to come, as I've set out many, many times. But he's now highlighting the consequences of the war that he said we should rush into. He wanted us to go to war. He said it was perfectly clear that we should support the strikes. Then, just like the leader of the opposition, a week later, he said, oh, no, I got that one wrong. You can't make mistakes about decisions as serious as committing to war. It's a gross error.
A gross error is actually not actually standing with Trump and your allies. Do you know what I mean? Like, what is he doing? I mean, I'm not for war at all. I am quite all about love, peace, energy, vibes. Everybody knows that. But, you know, it's just like he's properly pissed off Trump, hasn't he? So it's just like, it's a balance. You're having to like balance it all out. And I don't know. I just think it is a shit show.
Yeah.
Again, he deflected to war, didn't he? I mean, that was the first thing he did.
Constantly, constantly, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just so it's predictable. That's the thing. I think he's got he must have a few little notes written down by the side of him. Okay, deflect to war. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, just
what I think that what
cue
he
cards.
shows. Yeah, I mean, like we were all like a couple of weeks ago, we were all talking about Epstein all the time. Now we're all talking about Iran all the time. Do you know what I mean? Like, and Starmer, you can see that. So let's talk about the war, and then I don't have to talk about anything else. You saw it with Kemi. Like, he was trying to beat her over the head with the fact that she had supported the war. Who cares if she supports the war? She's the leader of the opposition. She can say what she wants, right? It doesn't matter. And he kept bringing it back to that because he's got nothing else. He's just like, no, let's talk about the war because then we can stop talking about Mandelson. But, you know, the sex traffickers associate who I sent to Washington to be the ambassador. Let's not talk about that anymore. Let's talk about the war. I mean, mental.
Well, actually, I
agree with Farage about net zero, though. I don't agree with
absolutely. I mean, look, we've got enough resources in our own country, right, to be able to be self-sufficient in energy, right? We've outsourced our energy for far too long, for far too many years.
There's
and whenever
coal down there, Richie, as well, you know.
What's that?
There's loads of coal down there still as well.
Mate, there's plenty of coal in Wales, mate. You know that. You know that. But I want to show this tweet Rogue posted earlier today made me laugh, and I just want to pull this up a second.
No, what have I done? Yeah.
There we are. Do you ever look at something and wonder how it got there?
And there is Kia.
Oh, yeah.
It's almost as absurd as a tree and a car and a tree.
That tickled me when I seen that. Yeah, look, we're almost out of time, guys. But I just want to say a huge thank you for coming on the show. But just before we do round up Rogue, there was a couple of farmers that I met outside the Royal Courts of Justice that were there, and also some veterans. I managed to speak to some of these veterans. As you know, they're close to our heart on this show, Rogue. We've got a lot of friends who are veterans, and we always hold them in the highest regard. I'm sure our guests, our viewers and our guests do as well. I just want to play a short clip of me speaking to these veterans. And this relates to Keir Starmer, actually, because of what he's tried to do to the veterans that served in Northern Ireland. Okay. All right, guys. Just want a quick chat with you guys. So what's this about? We support the veterans. I'm a co-host for a show called the Richie and Rogue Unfiltered Show. We love our veterans. So why are you here today?
Sure, mate.
That's all right.
Oh, well, I was supporting the victims of the bombings that brought a civil court case against Jerry Adams.
Yeah.
He's always denied it. It was in the RA. So obviously we're all veterans serving out in Northern Ireland during the Troubles. So we're here not demonstrating against Jerry Adams supporters. We're just here giving a bit of support for the victims of those who brought the civil court
Brilliant,
case.
Fantastic. And just to say thank you for your service, guys, as well. Really appreciate it from a youngster. Obviously, I'm too young to remember, but thank you for your service and everything else. Cheers, guys. Anything to say?
You're too young.
Oh, well, I'm 51. But it's great to see you here today. Are you hoping for more support as well?
It would be nice. It'd be nice if there was more of us tomorrow.
Right.
Because I believe that's the last day of the case tomorrow.
It may go well possibly next week as well.
Brilliant. And was this when Keir Starmer wanted to bring prosecutions against the veterans as well, with Lord Hamer? You know, he did pro bono as well, didn't he? What do you think about Keir Starmer?
You try not to say anything.
You try not to say anything.
You wouldn't be allowed to broadcast that.
Well, it's YouTube, you know.
He's a scum-sucking, terrorist-supporting bastard. There you go. And that's from me, Starmer, you bastard.
There we go. So great what you're doing, guys, and we support as well. Obviously, what Starmer's done in this country is just unforgivable.
On Good Friday then, because we'll be down at Parliament Square again with Rolling Thunder.
Oh, I can't promise because I'm from the Shires of Wales, right? It's a long way to come, but if I can make it, guys, I'll be there.
Where are you from?
I'm from Llanelli, West Wales.
I'm the only Welsh Cockney in captivity.
You're the Welsh Cockney, are you?
I was born in Mount Pleasant, Merthyr Vale.
All right, no, we're very well. Well, cheers, guys. I hope it goes well. Everything goes well for the court case anyway, right? All the best, right? Cheers, guys. There we go, guys. I managed to grab those guys, Rogue. They were lovely, you know.
I bet they were. They sound hilarious, though. They're like, was it a cock? Was it a cock?
I don't know. I think he used every expletive word you could imagine to describe Keir Starmer. Yeah, I know. But you know, the reason why they were there, really, a lot of people don't know this because there's a case going on. Obviously, it's a civil case over Jerry Adams, and the decision has been made now. I read today in the news that he's been cleared of all terrorist charges, Jerry Adams. And, my opinion is he was a terrorist. He was part of the IRA. He's responsible for the deaths of so many people. And yet our veterans that served in Northern Ireland, the way that they've been treated, and the fact that Keir Starmer tried to bring prosecutions against them, pro bono, along with Lord Hamer, is absolutely abhorrent.
Yeah.
Yes. The other day, actually, I was with a former veteran who served in Northern Ireland, and he has PTSD from his experiences there. And I have to say, I've spoken to a few veterans, actually, who served in different conflicts, and many of them have said that the most traumatizing conflict that they ever experienced was when they served in Northern Ireland. And Jerry Adams, I believe, didn't he turn up in court with an Irish flag and a Palestinian flag as well, draped around him? I mean, that's an interesting way to position yourself, isn't it? You know?
Well, I think what that sort of like shows you is that all these separatist movements are essentially Marxist in nature. Right, and the IRA, all of them. The IRA wouldn't have happened absent Marxism, I don't believe. Really discuss. So, but they are all. There's always an affiliation between Marxists and those kinds of organisations. They're a left-wing organisation, the IRA. They always were.
Yeah, but it was just I was just a bit gutted that there wasn't enough support for those guys there. It was something, I know they were hoping for more support the next day. It was the last day of the court case as well. But obviously, our hearts go to all veterans of all conflicts, because, they hold a special place in our heart on our show. And we often have them on here as well to discuss some of the things as well. We're going to come to the last segment of the show, guys, because time is nearly up. But first of all, thanks for coming on the show anyway. It's been great, isn't it? It's had different people on.
It's been really fun.
I love them. They can come on again.
Yeah,
you are so welcome. And I think we need to talk about lots more things.
Yeah.
We do. I'm going to play this last video, right? I'm just going to play the video and let each of us commentate on what you think about it. Here we go.
Assalamu alaikum.
20 years of the programme that we have, and we have some alumni from some meetings as well.
I'm sure I can recognise that. Assalamu alaikum. In this milestone anniversary year, I can only say that it is with enormous pride and admiration that I join you all here today to pay tribute to this remarkable centre as it celebrates 4 decades of unfailing work to broaden our understanding of the Islamic world and in the United Kingdom. Assalamu alaikum.
We've just lost Rogue. I don't know where she's gone. It's probably her internet. Now, let me start, right? This is the defender of the faith, right? That's this kind of title he gets, right? Whether you're religious or not, right? He is the head of the church. That's how he's supposed to be. That's his office. He swore an oath to the crown to be that. Bishop Kai wrote a letter, I think, to the king earlier today. I seen that on the Mike Graham show I was with this morning. Why is Charles so interested in the Islamic faith? I find it, when we are facing existential threat of a civilization that has changed the demographics of our country so much, that is a real threat right now. And where I think I was speaking to Mike Graham this morning, he was saying there's around 38%, in some cities, 38% of people are the only indigenous people from that area. 38%, the rest are Muslims in some parts of the country. Shocking statistic. Let's go to you first, Callum. Why do you think the king is so keen to support Islam? When, and I'm not saying all Muslims are bad, right? But something's going on, isn't there?
I think that people like King Charles do not understand Islam. I mean, for a start, like full disclosure, like I'm a pagan, or I'm what some people refer to as a pagan, and although the word's problematic, but I think that all three Abrahamic religions are on the wrong track. But having said that, like, you know, I regard them as personality cults around men. Like, I regard Judaism as a personality cult around Abraham. I regard Christianity as a personality cult around Jesus Christ, and I regard Islam as a personality cult around Muhammad. But a personality cult around a peace-loving carpenter is one thing, like a personality cult around a murderous warlord is another thing, right? And you know, if he's the defender of the faith that is being referred to is Christianity, and I think, you know, my immediate reaction to those pictures is that he should be taking that a bit more seriously, really, you know.
Yeah. Richard?
Okay, I suppose if I'm going to answer this, I should do it properly, and that is, you see, I believe His Majesty is actually, I mean, if you go into in depth and look at his genealogy, you'll find that he is descended from the Prophet Muhammad himself. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. Also, apparently from King David, but I don't fully know. Anyway, enough of these silly impressions. No, that is true, by the way. Apparently, he, I have heard, you can do a bit of research in this, that he is descended from, through Fatima, I believe it was, I don't know, from the Prophet Muhammad. I'm not entirely sure on that. He has been continuously praising Islam, and I watched an interview the other day with the... what's her name? Andrew Gold, was it? With Lauren the Insider. Was it Andrew Gold? I think it was.
Yeah.
And in that, I think Lauren said that she had spoken to people who have said that, I hope I'm correct in saying this, that His Majesty is has converted to Islam. So that would make sense. I mean, if that's the case. I mean, look, at the end of the day, I see no outward expression of Christianity within King Charles. I don't see any. There's no real conviction. Look, we can all claim to be Christian and come up with a few lines from the Bible and say how it relates to X, Y, and Z. Notice, incidentally, though, every time he does quote the Bible, every time he does make some sort of Christian proclamation or statement, that he instantly has to then counterbalance it by saying how wonderful Islam is. That's it's a bit of a standout when that is and occasionally he will mention other faiths, but in particular Islam seems to be getting the lion's share of support from His Majesty. And here's the thing: he's meant to be that. Is he the head of the Church of England? Is it the head? I can't remember what his exact title is for the Church of England.
Yeah,
but where's the courage of his conviction? If you're a Christian, you're supposed to believe one thing, and that is there's only one way to God, and that is through Christ. Okay, that is what a Christian believes. I'm a Christian, and that is what I believe. There is no grey area. There is no other way of getting to the Father other than via the Son. Now, if all of a sudden you're trying to push a narrative which is saying that that is not the case, then you are clearly not exactly well adversed within the Christian theology, let alone the Islamic one. That's my thoughts on the matter.
Absolutely. But listen, we're really struggling to get Rogue on. You can see there, guys. She's got a black screen with a twirl going on. Probably the Wi-Fi connection, actually. So we're going to finish off in a few moments, but I don't want to finish until she comes back on, because she'll tell me off, and I'll get it right here full off her once the show's finished. But hopefully we can get her back. Yeah, so listen, guys, our time is up. It's now 9:30. I just want to say thank you to all of our viewers and those who watched tonight across different platforms here on X and on YouTube as well. Thank you to our subscribers. We appreciate you. We're definitely going to get you both back on again on different subjects. Apologies for it being all bitty tonight, guys. It's just the fact I had to rush from London this morning, get up to Mid Wales to the studios, and the team put all this together. Then I had to you know, it's like, Richard, when you put in the show together, you have to all the clips, all the things. It's a nightmare. But managed to get through it. So just a huge thank you to every single one of you that have taken the time to listen to us tonight. Because without you, what's the point of us being here? We just talking to ourselves when we might as well just phone each other. But seriously, Richard, thank you for coming on. Callum, it's been a pleasure, and look forward to seeing you guys again.
Yeah, great. Thanks for having me on. Cheers. It's nice to see you, Richie.
Thank you, Richie. Thank you, Rogue. And nice to meet you, Callum. God bless.
Same. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Well, folks, apologies about that. Oh, Rogue's back. Oh, yeah, got her. Yes, sure she is. Wait. Yes.
I'm
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
angry. My internet just went just like that.
Are you outside?
No. Everything just went absolutely tits up. So I apologise. I really wanted to see the video. I didn't even get to see the video.
Oh, no. I know we just said goodbye to the guests as well. They're going to come back on. Or Callum Richard said they're going to come back on. They're still at backstage.
Good. They need to. They're brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely superb. Loved having them on as well. And Callum's way of describing what was happening as well really helped the viewers to understand what was going on as well. Rogue.
Yeah,
I think that's the wrap for tonight, my love.
All right.
Is there anything else we need to cover? No. What day are we on today? I forgot what day it is. Wednesday. We're back. We're back on Saturday for the brunch show. Yeah, Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Don't forget that. And then, of course, our regular Sunday night as well. We'll be back then as well. Sorry I didn't get through many of your comments tonight. There's a reason for it, right? Because technically everything is gone tits up here, right? Literally tonight. So nothing's worked. So I've been on my own trying to sort it all out. So apologies for that. Just want to say a huge thank you to all of you for tuning in. And we're looking forward to catching you on another episode right here of the Richie and Rogue Show.
Thank you so much. And goodbye.